Hello, everybody, and welcome to the Company's Expert Live. And today there was a headline on Twitter referencing an article in the Toronto Star called "Thousands Laid Off and Impersonal Zoom Calls Feel Angry and Alone." So if we jump to the article, this is an interesting occurrence that's occurring these days increasingly. And the subtitle here is "Showing Some Compassion Doesn't Cost Anything." Now, this article goes on to give an example of one person that went through this, and they're drawing attention to the larger issue where they were essentially laid off over Zoom via recorded message. Okay, so it's not like you are dealing with a human. Okay, you're not dealing with a human. Instead, the company, usually a large company, they reference a large company in this article, they inform you that you are let go remotely, okay, via teleconferencing, either Zoom or another program, and you are not talking to a human being. You don't have the opportunity to have a two-way conversation about this. You don't see another human being at least showing some compassion or remorse over what is occurring. Neither are they saying anything encouraging. Neither are they offering any words of comfort. Instead, it's just a recorded message that informs you you're laid off and then goes on to read a few legal banalities and then hangs up on you. And the theme of this is that this is very cold, and it's an interesting practice because in addition to being laid off, and then in addition to it being done in this way, which is very impersonal, in addition to the fact that we're in 2020 and 2021, and because of current events, people are increasingly isolated, okay, because of all that, this is taking a very heavy psychological toll on a lot of people, far more so than they would if they were just laid off under more normal circumstances. Okay, so that's the theme of this, and then it goes on to talk about how it's just a very crushing experience for a lot of people, and it further adds to the disruption and some of the problems with what is currently going on. Now, I just want to say, for people who are experiencing this, people who are employees that are being laid off, and they're being laid off in this way, first of all, you have my deepest sympathy. This is a terrible way to be let go, okay? Also, in addition to that, I just want you to know that this is not okay for companies to do this. Just because some companies are doing it doesn't mean that this is an accepted way to do this now. This is a terrible way to do it. And it's a shame you are being treated like that. I want you to know that there are a lot of organizations, a lot of companies, a lot of employers out there that don't do this, and they don't do this because of personal reasons, of ethics. They don't do this. Okay, so don't get the picture that this is a normal thing and this is an accepted thing. Okay, they are stepping over the line when they do this to you, and it's absolutely terrible. As most people know, if you are laid off, okay, it's going to be very terrible news to receive, but what can make all the difference is if you are dealing with a human, the human is treating this issue with respect. They are treating you with respect. They are showing remorse. They are aware of the tragedy that they are essentially causing. Sometimes it's not their fault, but they are a party to it. And words of encouragement can make a huge difference to the person being laid off. In addition to that, if you can give them pointers or say something that will help them, that is also something that makes all the difference. That way, the person being laid off goes away, and they don't feel as much like they are unemployable and there's something terribly wrong with them. Instead, they feel more like a tragedy has befallen them and it's not their fault. They're just a victim to circumstances, and they understand at a fundamental level that tragedies like this are not permanent. They're a blip on the timeline, and that things will turn around for them. And they go away hopefully believing that, because it's true. Okay, so doing it in a personal way where you can interact with somebody makes a difference. Doing this is bad, as this article points out. Now, from the other perspective, from the perspective of the HR employee. Okay. Now I understand why they're doing this. They're doing it because it is cost effective, and it perhaps shields the HR employees from some of the psychological stress of doing this. Okay, of laying people off. But you know what? That is part of your job responsibilities, your duties when you work in HR. I have taught HR students in universities for many years on the side. Okay, I've trained a lot of recruiters and a lot of people that go into HR, whether they're benefits administrators or they're public relations people or they're recruiters or they're corporate trainers or whatnot. I have trained these people. And something that's interesting to me, okay, is that, like it says here, but being nice to people, showing some compassion, it costs nothing. It just adds some human decency. Okay. What I've noticed is that for some reason, a lot of people that choose to go into HR, one would think that they would enjoy dealing with people and they would be somewhat good at it. However, what I've noticed is that a lot of people who go into HR do not enjoy dealing with people and aren't particularly good at it. Now, obviously there's exceptions, but a lot of people fit that description. And I've always wondered, why would these people choose to go into human relations if they don't want to deal with people? Okay, or human resources, I should say, not human relations. It's always been puzzling to me because it results in things like this. Okay, this is what we get at the end of the day. Now, the problem with this is that this is setting a precedent. It's by the fact that a lot of large companies are now doing this. This makes it a thing. This somehow sets a precedent and it makes the case that this is okay and that this is an acceptable way to lay someone off, when of course it isn't. Okay, what is the point of learning about psychology, learning about emotional intelligence, and all the stuff that we have in the last 20 years of HR if we're going to turn around and do stuff like this? Okay, this is terrible. It would be like somebody deciding to go into nursing and say, I don't want to deal with people, nor should I have to deal with people. And the nursing establishment turning around and saying, you know, you're absolutely right. Nursing is maintaining schedules, restocking supply closets, and emptying bedpans. You don't have to deal with people. And if you don't like dealing with people, that's okay. Now that's silly. That's not what we see. At least not in most cases. So why is it that in HR, people can go into HR and they can think that policies like this are okay? I understand why they're doing it. Like I said, it's cost effective. It reduces the psychological toll on the HR employee. But you know what? It's part of your job responsibilities to fire people. I've had to fire people. A lot of people have had to fire people. And this is what you accepted when you took the job. Okay? Don't shy away from it. The main reason is that you could do a lot of good by showing a personal touch to people. Okay? And you are also misrepresenting your organization when you treat people this way. That's why a lot of these companies do not end up with the best talent, because they tend to engage in impersonal corporate policies like this. So, all I can say is that if you have been laid off in this way, you have my deepest sympathy. This is not a thing. There are a lot of organizations, a lot of companies, especially smaller ones, that don't operate like this. They treat you with respect. They do these things in person. They have a two-way conversation with you. They try and offer support where they can. Okay, and that is the decent way of doing this. It also is directly good for the company in the long term, because you create a lot of goodwill, or at least you minimize the negative goodwill that you're generating. So that's the take on this article. It's very interesting. I tend to agree with it, and it's a shame that we're seeing this. So thank you very much for your attention. I wish you nothing but the best. And remember, each and every one of you is awesome. Take care.